Traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you in the mid-afternoon of August the 7th with a look at the week ahead. Well, we all know what happened last week with the S&P downgrade and various other things. With regard to the S&P 500, my thoughts are that we saw a spinning top on Friday where we dropped down forcefully, we got a bid back up, we moved higher, and then we closed back basically where we bottomed on Thursday. Not particularly bullish, but I will be watching this week to see how this plays out. Okay, so we are below this trend line. We did come up and basically test that area. Okay, Bollinger Bands are going crazy. We're oversold. There's a possibility we could turn up, and there's also a possibility we could stay down in the oversold territory for some time. Now, looking at Fibonacci's from this previous high down to this low, we, excuse me one second, can see the Fibonacci extensions here, minus 272 and minus 618. There's a good possibility if we break down through Friday's low that we could see 27.2. Okay, very quickly, given the momentum we've seen over the past 10 trading days. Now the opposite is a possibility too. We could get a bounce, in which case we have the 382 and the 50% right back at the top of this candle, and the 618 back at the 1280 area. Okay, I think it's likely that we may see that, being the S&P downgrade. I think is a foregone conclusion, and the market's already priced that in. But I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to watch and see what happens on Monday to kind of get a feel for the market. What I will be looking for during the week is a indication of the stocks that are holding up, the Apples, Netflix, and so forth, that didn't get hit as hard as the rest of the stocks did. Now the Nasdaq had a hammer on Friday, and looking at the same thing with regard to the Fibonacci's, going from the previous high down to this low. Okay, it gives us 618 is back up here at the 23.25 area. Okay, so the extension 272 is down at 2050. Is it possible that we continue lower? Sure, we could embed. That's possible. Many of the stocks that I looked at did bottom, or appear to have bottomed, or hit resistance levels, support levels. Name stocks like in the, check out the Nasdaq 100 list. You can notice a lot of stocks in this position here where we've had previous support levels. Okay, we're right at that level now, and we could see lower possibly. The Qs, note that they came down through this lower trend line and bounced up higher, but stochastics are oversold or overbought and pointing lower. Note Microsoft did hold up. It's right at the 10 period moving average. It managed to stay above that. Netflix is at previous levels. Note this long trend line, okay, that has been breached. Okay, and what we make of that we'll find out this week as well. Okay, but for the most part, many of these stocks are at support levels, the previous resistance turned support. Going back to the S&P, a comment I just made about um, long-term resistance, okay, and trend lines, that this trend line has been broken. Major trend line going back to 2009, the bottom in 2009, where we bounced off at March and we went higher, okay. There's a shoulder here, head. This could be panning out to be a very large head and shoulders, okay, with then the even larger um, broadening top pattern, okay. What I'd like to see is a bounce and get back above these highs. I doubt that's going to happen, but that's what I would be looking for, okay, to get back above the 1370 area. Note the long-term trend line though. NASDAQ looks the same way as we just talked about, okay. So I'll be watching these areas if I were you. The Russell looks somewhat worse, okay, and it is what it is. So I'd be watching these trend line and support areas going into the next week. Okay, looking for support areas. There's a high there. Sort of just looking and searching for areas of support, but it looks pretty weak. Okay. DBV, remember you want to see this moving higher, which would be good for equities. Obviously, it's moving lower. We did get a little bit of a hammer on Friday, and we're oversold. So I'll be watching this. Note this area of volume at price that we're currently inside of, okay, which is a lot of volume of buying, okay. In fact, we're oversold. We had big volume on Friday. I want to see this move higher. Okay, let's look at the municipal bond index. Is actually looking pretty decent compared to everything else we've been looking at. UUP, the dollar, still banging around here in this lower range here. So I'll be looking to see this resolve one way or another this week. Euro took a pretty big dump over the last week and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, same. Last 10 trading days, we are oversold. There's a possibility we could get a bounce here. So going back to the S&P, one of the things I'm looking at is if we do bounce, okay, this long-term trend line here that I pointed out on the weekly, okay, I'd be looking for this to move back up. Let's take this out. The highs. Okay. The lows here. I'd be looking for a move back up to the 618, which happens to be, if we bang up here in the next week or two, happens to be the 618 area. So this is where I'd look to short this market, because I don't see this getting any higher. The fact that we get the 618, I'd be looking for it to roll over. Note stochastics is already rolling over as it is. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. I forgot to mention that. So if we did short that, I would be looking for this to move back down to the minus 272 Fibonacci extension. Okay, and perhaps even get down to the 618. So I'm not hoping for that, but that's what I'm thinking is a possibility. Both sides of the coin, bullish and bearish. Okay, so if we are bouncing this next couple of weeks, I'll be taking any of the bullish positions I have left on off. Okay. Note that the ag stocks didn't take the brunt of the selling last week. Something I wanted to point out, that we didn't break down as hard. Okay, yeah, we did come down from a high, but we didn't break down below these lows here. Okay, we did bounce in this area though, so I'll be watching the ag stocks this week as well. AGU, Mosaic. Note that Mosaic held off of that support level. Okay. Note the volume at price that we do have some resistance in this area here. Be nice to see this get back up above these levels. Gold. Well, gold's had its run after its breakout, so I'd be keeping an eye on gold as well. I am not bullish or bearish. I'm just watching to see what happens with regard to the yellow metal. Okay. This long-term trend line still intact. Okay. I would look for this to come back down and test this trend line, though, being overbought on the weekly. Note some of the gold stocks didn't do as well as the actual metal itself. EGO, GG. They're actually off of their highs. Okay, so keep that in mind. Newmont Mining, that although gold, the precious metal, made higher highs, 52-week highs, gold stocks were actually moving lower. So keep that in mind. Note the VIX spiked much higher. Okay, in the past where we had a spike in the VIX, this was a good position to fade. Okay, you can buy puts on the VIX. You can't actually trade this particular instrument because this is just the volatility, S&P volatility index. Okay, so on S&P options, just to say, the CBOE. So keep an eye on the VIX. In the past where we've spiked higher, okay, we have faded off of that, and it's tended to be a good fade. Okay, it could be good for a bullish side on the S&P and other stocks, but I won't be trading stocks per se, individual stocks. I'll probably be playing the indexes over the next few weeks because everything is so weak. Okay. So anyway, this is Cousin Benny coming to you on Sunday, August the 7th. I'm wishing you good luck this week and be nimble. And if you can possibly do it, try to start going to cash and building reserves so that when stocks do start setting up again and we do start seeing a trend, that you can trade it and make some money. Odds are that you've lost a little bit this week. I know I have the past week or two. And it's because I was being foolish. I should have just stepped out and taken a pause. Okay, when Johnny was talking about taking smaller positions, I did do that, but I still got hurt a good bit. So you guys are not on your own when it comes to being hurt in this past week. Okay, so take care. Remember to use your stops and just sit on the sidelines if you can and just watch what's going on. Don't feel like you're forced to have to trade. Okay, take care.